Welcome to the Page One Podcast, a twice-weekly podcast featuring a variety of guests and thought leaders on topics ranging from channel strategies to tariffs, influencer marketing, best-in-class product launches, and all the details about how to accelerate your e-commerce sales with the big box retailers, or what we call R-commerce. Now here's your host, Luke Peters.
Thanks for joining us on the Page One Podcast. I am your host, Luke Peters, and this is the podcast where I bring you the best and brightest leaders to share consumer product sales and marketing strategies that will help you grow your business. I'm the CEO and founder of Newer Appliances, where I cut my teeth selling products online, and now have started Retail Band, where I hope to help other brands succeed in online product launches, influencer marketing, B2B online sales strategy, and even online account management, like through Amazon or Wayfair or Home Depot. And right now I'm offering a free evaluation of your online sales strategy. So if you're interested, find me on LinkedIn or email me at luke@retailband.com. And it'd be awesome. We can present that free evaluation right to you and see if we can increase your sales online through your different selling channels or using influencer marketing. So in this episode, you're going to learn from Larry Beeger on how he created sensors to detect leaks in homes and entered a $10 billion industry. That's billion with a B. So how he grew this a multi-million-dollar company by selling into the world's largest retailers, and how he keeps fun and humor at the company. Larry studied law, has a JD and a BS in management from Northern Michigan University. Larry, thanks for joining me today on the Page One Podcast.
Yeah, great to be here, Luke. Thank you. You took me by surprise, actually, right from the beginning. You said the best and the brightest. What? And I looked behind me. I thought somebody was waiting to talk.
Yeah, we're reaching there. No, I'm sure you'll have a lot to add, and I mean, it sounds like an amazing story. And why don't we start with just learning more about Alexa consumer products? Let's talk about these leak detectors. How do they work? What is the product, and where do you guys sell?
Sure. So just a real quick intro about Alexa. Alexa Consumer Products was founded in 1993 and by a large overseas conglomerate. And basically, the primary focus was to have a U.S. entity to penetrate the U.S. market in big box and selling to big box retailers. So over the years, the company's launched several different product lines, and most recently, which Smart Home launched a line of smart home devices. And I always tell people, when they ask, what does the company do? I say, well, we make your home smart because you're not. But in truth, we make smart devices that protect your home. So most recently, we launched a product called the Guardian, and it's a whole house leak prevention system. So basically, what you do is you set Guardian up on it's a retrofittable valve controller that goes right over your home's main water line shutoff. And so what we do is you put the Guardian valve controller over the main shutoff, and then you deploy leak detectors around the home. And if a leak is detected, say if you have one by your washing machine or by your hot water heater, the leak will be detected by the leak detector, sends a signal to the valve controller, and it shuts the water off. Now, can I go into the beauty of the leak sensors and how we develop them?
Yeah, let's run into that quickly.
Sure. So I looked around at the market. The company's been in consumer products, as I said, for 27 years, and we know consumer habits. So one of the first things we looked at, and I said to our team, our technical team, I said, listen, consumers typically, and I'm including myself in this batch, are lazy. We don't want to change batteries. So we built the leak detector with a 15-year battery life. So, and then we also put into the leak detector ambient temperature sensing. So it will sense if your home is getting cold, send you a push notification. And if it gets down to 35 degrees in the home, we'll shut the water off. It also detects movement of the leak detector. So if a kid or maybe the dog picked it up or whatever, moved it out of where you wanted it, it will send you a notification the detector's been moved. And then we also have a 1,000-foot range from the leak detector to the control valve. And it's done on a proprietary RF radio frequency, wireless technology. And the reason we did that was we wanted to get a super long range. And another beautiful thing about it is even if your Wi-Fi goes down in your home, your home is still protected because of this proprietary wireless technology that will still send a signal to the valve controller. Now, you won't get a push notification to your phone, but the water will be shut off in the home.
Wow.
So it's and we also make a line of Z-Wave products, and the problem was, to be honest with you, Luke, I was testing them at my house, but every time the Wi-Fi would go down, and I live outside of Chicago, and I probably lose Wi-Fi at least once a quarter, sometimes once every 2 months. If the Wi-Fi signal goes down, all of your sensors go offline. So that was a problem. So when we developed Guardian, I said, we've got to do something because we can't have this happening. Because if there's a flood in the home, we don't want to be reliant on Wi-Fi. So, and that's why we did it with this, proprietary wireless technology. Hope that wasn't too long of an answer.
No, I think it's actually really interesting because I got a few questions around that and development. But quickly, Larry, just so I can understand these sensors. Now, most homes are going to have, some sort of copper piping that's holding the water going, and it's in the drywall. How are the sensors actually detecting that there is a leak? Are they looking at, like some sort of pressure decrease, or do they literally have to physically, have a camera that watches water dripping on the ground? How do they actually understand that?
So it's the leak detectors have basically pins on the bottom of them. So when the contact is made between the pins, by as little as one drop of water, that activates and sends a signal to the control valve. So what you want to do is we list a myriad of places where leaks are normally detected. For instance, hot water heaters are probably number one. Hot water heaters will have a basic shelf life from 5 to 10 years. And oddly enough, I just had a leak in a hot water heater, and these hot water heaters were installed new 10 years ago. Yeah. So I had to replace the hot water heater. So hot water heaters are number one. Toilets are a problem too. Toilets from not only overflowing, but the valve and the tank fittings become loose over time, and they will leak and can cause a lot of damage. So physical.
So there's like a physical connection. So the homeowner would put these all over the house then, and then
correct.
And how much is it just typically or quickly cost to outfit a home with this Guardian product?
So typically it would cost around $299, and for the system with 3 leak detectors, and then you would want to add leak detectors. I would assume from there. And the leak detectors are about $49 retail. But think about it. It costs you about 25 cents a month to have a leak detector because it's with the 15-year battery life.
Yeah, no, that's really inexpensive. I mean, I was with all that technology.
Right. And then they've also got ambient temperature sensing. We are coming out with Generation 2 leak detectors and making them probably at half the cost with a 10-year battery life, but they weren't going to have they're not going to be as robust. They're not going to have ambient temperature sensing movement. They're just going to be, leak detectors. But so that's basically what the homeowner does. Here's the beautiful thing, Luke. If we're working with a company called Smart Insure, and actually I just talked to the CEO, a gentleman by the name of Daniel Turtle. So if we're teaming up with Smart Insure, so let's say you, Luke, buy Guardian at Home Depot or Lowe's or Costco. You install it. You call up Smart Insure. All you do is give them the PIN number from off of the control valve. So it's usually a 4-digit alphanumeric PIN number, and you let Smart Insure know that you purchased it, and they will guarantee you between a 5 and 25% discount on your homeowner's insurance policy.
That's awesome.
So it means then Guardian pays for itself. We're just getting this relationship consummated, and we're really excited about it. And so I was on, like I said, I was on the phone with the CEO of the company. I said, okay, hold on. How does this work? I don't have to change my carrier. So let's say, for instance, do you know who your insurance company is, Luke?
Well, and let's get into that maybe later on, because I think
okay, sure.
What I wanted to run into here is, if you don't mind, why don't we talk a little bit more about the company, and so that way the listener kind of has an idea for scale of the company. How many total employees do you guys have, and do you have your own warehouse? If so, how big, or do you 3PL these products?
Sure. So we have 4 offices around the world. So we have an office in Hong Kong, we have an office in China, we have an office in the UK, and then in Brazil. And so collectively, we're probably around 40, 45 people. And a lot of engineering, as you can imagine, a lot of technical people. We actually outsource, and we use a third party, what they call a 3PL, third party logistics. So we outsource our logistics. So we don't own our own warehouse. And the beautiful thing about that is, as you grow and contract, your business grows, and that's never a problem. I mean, it's a third-party logistics. They're able to expand and give us more space, or they can cut our space down, and we're not stuck in a long-term lease with 400,000 square feet, which we're only occupying, maybe 150,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's a very variable expense. So it's
right.
So for a lot of companies, yeah, definitely. And then there's a lot of systems involved with shipping your own product. So you guys have about 45 people, but all over the world, which is awesome.
Right.
Your different offices around the world. And then how about your sales mix between in-store versus online? What's the about percentage? Is it mostly an in-store product, or how is the mix there?
Right. So we're basically, like you take in the case of a Home Depot, we're not only in store, but we're online, and the same with Lowe's, Ace Hardware. So we're in all of the home improvement channels except for one customer that we're not in that with them. But so we're in Lowe's, we're in Home Depot, Ace, True Value, Do It Best.
Yep.
And so we have and we're online. Although Home Depot does a great job, Lowe's does a great job. We're on Amazon. We're on Costco.com. We do in and out type of promotions with Costco. So that's kind of the bulk of our distribution.
So do you think most of it is in-store sales, or are you guys doing a pretty, because I'm just curious if consumers are buying this one on, like I realize you're in-store and then also online at HD, but is it mostly in-store sales, or are customers actually also you getting, purchases from the online side of the business?
Yeah, the online business is very strong, and I can tell you why. I mean, people like to do research and they like to read. And so, obviously you can do it from the comfort of your own home. So people will shop online, and they'll go to the various e-tailers and look at the products and read the comments and all of that. So we do a big online business. Of course, when we promote it online, it's gangbusters.
Yep.
But we still have this, the brick and mortar presence as well.
Yeah. And how do you guys have your own sales team, or do you use reps for a lot of those large retailers?
Right. So we have an inside, we do have an inside sales force, and we do utilize a lot of reps around the country as well.
What's been your biggest surprise as far as sales channels go? Was there one of them that you're doing more sales than you would have thought, or something that's trending lately, or, anything stand out there?
Yeah, I'll tell you one surprise that happened. It was about almost a year ago over Christmas. And so I typically at the company like to give people off to visit with their family over the Christmas holiday. And then one of our, I'll tell you who it was Costco, ran a promotion on the 27th of December. And they ran it for, I think, a week or so. And the sales were gangbusters, and I couldn't believe it. So I had operations people calling me, and I was trying to visit with my family, and between Christmas and New Year's. And they're calling me, and they're like, "You're not going to believe the sales. They're going crazy." I said, "Who shops 2 days after Christmas?" It should have been. And I was kind of like upset by the timing of this ad. At first I said, "Well, that was a pretty lousy placement." 2 days after Christmas, the thing starts going, and it's over. Just after the first of the year, people are just kind of winding down from the holidays. And I didn't think anybody was shopping, but the sales were just gangbusters, and it shocked us. So we did, quite a large amount of sales in a very short time, right after Christmas. So that was pretty shocking.
Yeah, Costco. I mean, incredible customer. So have you guys been working with Costco for a while?
Yeah, we've actually been with Costco for a number of probably the last, gotta be 7 to 10 years. Yeah. Yeah. So with various different products, right?
So it sounds like, it's a really unique product. You're able to position yourselves in a competitive way. And, I'll ask questions about IP, I guess, coming up. But I guess before I get into that, is that kind of your strength with the company? I mean, you're obviously CEO of the company. and have led the company, I think, for over 20 years.
Right.
Is it in product development, or do you guys, was that just something that the company spent a lot of time developing teams around product development? Is that the strength, or is it more on the sales side?
Well, it's, I want to tell you something. You probably already guessed this, Luke. My mother used to say to me, "Oh, son, you've never met a microphone you didn't love."
Funny.
So I do love talking to
Yep.
I do love talking to people. I do love getting up and, I'm not obviously a shy person. But then on the other side of it, I grew up outside of Detroit. And so being in the Motor City, I did, grow up around cars and all of that stuff. And some of my family were in the automotive industry. So I loved tinkering and playing with cars and mechanical things. And I remember being in my parents' basement when something would break, like a toaster or whatever. I would take it down in the basement and try to fix it. And 9 times out of 10, I was successful. So that kind of started it. So it was like tinkering, and then, getting into more of the mechanical things. And then, of course, when I started owning cars and being able to do things. And so that kind of started the ball rolling. So as I went into business, I always was, I had an affinity for product development and could see from the mechanical side, and a lot of times from the electrical side, and of what would work and what won't. And although I'm not an electrical engineer, and I have a great electrical engineers and app developers, I'm more of the idea person. I said, can we do this? Just like I was talking about the leak detectors. Yeah. I said, we got 5 years out of it. And I said, well, certainly we can get 10. And they all, engineers and are looking at me like, oh. Then we got 10, and I said, well, if we got 10, we can definitely get 15. And so they just don't ask us for 20 years. But I thought 15 years was safe. So, I come up with the ideas. Some are doable, some are not. I mean, some are good ideas, some are horrible, and by my own admission. But, I like the ideas. But then I like getting out on the road and selling. And the crazy thing, and I've told this to our sales team and to our director of the sales, Jonathan Storino, and I said, Jonathan, I have never had a product in my 30 some odd years in consumer products that a buyer hasn't had something negative to say. I mean, we walked out of one of our retailers, and after the presentation of Guardian, and the retailer called my rep, and my rep called me, and he said, the buyer said, it was like you guys were selling magic. And that's kind of the reaction we get with Guardian. It's like people can't believe it.
Yeah, well, you've differentiated it, and you've positioned yourselves in also a pretty unique category. Like, it's a $10 billion problem,
right? But
it's not an obvious. I'm sure you guys have competitors, but
sure,
maybe not at the same rate as other more common to our mind consumer electronics. So I think kind of being in those, I always like the plumbing categories and the construction categories and some, stuff that kind of requires the hands to get involved. I used to be in the pool business, so kind of have a little bit of a background, but yeah. So we did leak detection in pools, by the way. That's a whole different thing. Why is my pool draining 2 inches a week here? Well, it's probably not the sun.
Yeah, probably because your kid was wearing his football cleats into the pool, walking around. I don't know.
More than that.
Yeah.
So it's the industry. I mean, but then you talk about your product development and you never found a microphone that you didn't fall in love with. So I love that story. Is the product made in China? It's not, you have a team over there. So is it made
Correct.
in China? And then does it have IP? You kind of have it protected with a bunch of IP around it. Is there anything you can share on that end?
Sure. So yes, we do. We applied for a patent some time ago, and actually, the patent issues. And get this, on Christmas Day in 2018, I got the patent in my hand. I looked when it issued. I said, "Let me ask you a question." I showed it to the team. I said, "Who in the government is working on Christmas Day? Seriously?"
Yeah.
So we laughed about it, but it issued in 2018. So we have a patent on the product. We use a very large patent office. A very good one. They've got offices here in Chicago and all over the country, and I think pretty much all. I don't want to say all over the world, but they're called Barnes and Thornburg, and they're very thorough, very good patent house, and so we use them, and really happy when that patent dropped. We have another product that we have patent pending. We can talk about that probably another time, but yeah.
So the Guardian product is relatively new. You've been running the company for 20 plus years. This product's relatively new. And you got, and I guess I'm speaking for, you can correct me. But you're in all these stores probably because you have relationships and maybe other products that are in those stores. And then you bring Guardian out and you're able to capitalize on that. Talk about building the brand. How do you build customer awareness besides getting in the stores? Was there anything on the website or on the marketing or advertising side that you had to do with the brand to really build awareness and also kind of educate the customer, I guess, because they might need it for this type of product?
Right. So yeah, we had hired a marketing group that we had basically they go out on the web and look for people who are searching leak detection, and then they ping them and send them to the Guardian site. We use a lot of that and some of the analytics and what have you. Well, we're doing some in-store promotions. My next goal, if we get the funding, is my goal is to get on TV and really explain the product. And I'd like to, use just the regular, TV. But we're doing a lot of things online, and our marketing team is, and this, I didn't grow up in the area of era of online. I mean, I remember when we got our first, my first email account was like in 1995. So this whole web thing that these kids grow up with in their smart devices, it's just incredible. But it's also incredible the reach that you can get with smart devices and the web, and it's just an incredible tool for us. So we do a lot of online marketing.
Wow, and then talk about competitive advantage. I mean, is that something that you really think about when you're positioning the product and looking at the competitors? And is there just curious to hear your thoughts, because you have so many years of experience in consumer electronics with regards to competitive advantage, and then maybe even an example of specific positioning that you took.
Yeah, so it typically with like I have a law background or studied law, but you try to look at mitigating risk, and I look at things from the risk mitigation standpoint. So when we were developing Guardian, I said, I want something that's retrofittable, that the average consumer could install or take off if they wanted to when they move or whatever. And so we went back and forth about this, and people were like, why? I said, well, I've been in consumer products my entire life. I mean, and products fail. They just do. I mean, it's not any fault of, in manufacturing, you do the best that you can, but you can get one little component that goes haywire and the product fails. And I remember talking to a gentleman at Cedia, and he said, well, why did you come up with this retrofittable solution or product instead of inline? And I said, well, the problem we could develop an inline solution. And what I mean by inline is you cut the pipe, you put this device in the water line, and then you seal it, right? But it's there, and if it fails, what do you do? And I was talking to this gentleman, and I said, if the motor fails, it's going to be a catastrophe. And he said, you would have to say that. He said, I installed one for a lady, and he didn't give me the name of the competitor. And he said, and the motor failed. And 6:00 in the morning, he said, I had a lady calling me screaming, my water's off, I can't turn it on, I've got to go to work, I've got to shower, I've got to get kids, got to get ready for school. So it was a minor catastrophe, but still. So with our product, it's, like I said, retrofittable, and you could just unclamp it from the pipe if the motor fails and just turn the water on by, manually. So that was one of the things I looked at. And so that gives us a real competitive advantage, because when you buy Guardian, if you buy it for $299 or $199, depending on the kit, you've got everything you need. You don't have to call a plumber. And then if you are having trouble installing it, you can go online and look at our tutorial, kind of walks you through the steps of installing it. And it's simple, very simple to install. So that's one of our competitive advantages.
That's a great example, like a really perfect example, actually. And I like what you're talking about, mitigating risk. Definitely your experience is has you thinking right there. And even maybe said a different way is eliminating friction, because I know, because listen, I've had to do minor, not an expert, but I've had to plumb in pools and heaters and stuff like that. And it's, mostly PVC, but you're still plumbing and connecting, and 100% that, if there's a single point of failure in there and that thing will eventually fail, you're going to you're going to be in big trouble. But here for the consumer, what you're telling them, they don't have to cut the copper. They don't have to hire a plumber. They can, somehow just connect it on top. And that's going to probably eliminate a ton of friction for the do-it-yourself consumer. So instead of, because I guess if you're in line, your customer would then probably end up being the plumber. You may have like a completely different person you're selling to, and now you can just sell to all the consumers. So more, that has a huge effect on who you're marketing to and who your addressable market is. So that's a great example there.
Right. And, and we try to make it I always look at the average consumer. What are they capable of? And, like you may be handy, like you're talking about being able to do some plumbing and fitting, and even though it's PVC, but it's still, for a lot of people, that's outside of their pay grade. I could sweat copper lines. I could do a lot of that, but I'm a little bit different. A lot of people don't know how to do this. And so like I said, we try to make it as simple as possible. I use the example of my sisters. I give them smart devices and tell them to, try to hook them up. And, I want to know what the problems are with the devices. Well, sometimes it's the instruction manual. They say, well, it didn't say you're supposed to do that. Okay. That's good to know. So I use them and my cousins as kind of guinea pigs, right?
Yeah.
And because I think typically most men, and we don't read instructions, right?
Never.
We're just like, okay, I saw this online. I could do this. No big deal. And with YouTube out there, you really don't need an instruction manual. So we tossed that away immediately. But I just wanted to know what are the problems. I wanted people to read the instruction manual. Don't go to so with my family and friends and people in the office, I have them install these products, give me feedback. What did you like? What didn't you like about it? And then we're able to tweak some things with either the instructions or, maybe in the design and to help people to make it easy, very easy. For instance, we're now putting QR codes on all of the back of the leak detector. So you don't even have to punch in a PIN number anymore. You just scan it with your phone and it pairs. And then you just type in where it is and master bathroom, toilet or shower or whatever, and boom, it's done. So we're always trying to improve the customer, the customer experience.
Yeah, make it easy for them.
Right.
What's the single biggest hurdle that you've overcome, and like maybe in more of a way that the audience can learn from it, and maybe they can kind of look at their own business? What do you think is something that might stand out there?
Yeah, it's when you're developing a technical product like Guardian, there is a lot that goes into it with the development, not only of the technology, but the back end and the app development. And there are a lot of moving pieces and parts. So, for me, being really kind of a nuts and bolts mechanical, and then dipping our toes into the sensor market, and then building out a platform on our own with Guardian, that was a huge challenge, and it's been ongoing for the last 4 years. You have so many moving pieces and parts to put together. Not only do you have, the valve controller, the PC board, and then there's, with every component in, you've got to make sure you've got the antenna strength to, connect to the Wi-Fi, because this thing's going to be in the basement, or it's going to be outside, or it's going to be in a crawl space. So it's got to have the bandwidth to be able to, get a signal and to send a signal. So all of these things, were very, very new to me. And it was monumental when we started. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a mountain of things that we have to, and I'm a pretty thorough guy. I always like, the kind of one of the expressions in the office is, I tell the team is when somebody spends $200 or $300 for a product, I want them to feel like they got every penny's worth, every cent's worth out of this product, that they feel like, wow, this is a great value. Not that this thing was junk or was put together, cheaply or whatever. I want them to really be proud to have the product. So, a lot of thought has to go into it. And like I said, it's not only the mechanical side of it, it's, the back end is a real, it's a monumental, to make sure that the valve controller, the leak sensors are all communicating to the cloud, that, they're not dropping offline, and that the data is being preserved and all of this stuff. So that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah. And what was the main takeaway though? What's something that you learned? So you went through this, it's a technical product. you had so many things that had to mesh together. Was there like a singular learning from that if you had to do it again?
Yeah, I mean, there's a better way to streamline this. And I think that's what it's taken so long in the development side, because we kept coming up with other things that we needed to add and needed to do, and wasn't fully aware of it in the inception. So we had to kind of play catch up before the product was launched. And there was many delays. And as you know, this just doesn't translate well to shareholders that are saying, well, look, we've invested all of this money, millions of dollars. When is this thing going to launch? And there's nobody left to blame but the CEO who, I just had no idea how many moving pieces and parts, as I said, were to this project. So on the next, we're talking about the next 2-3 projects to bring into the Guardian family. So I'm already laying out the strategy and writing the documentation for it, so that we can basically bypass a lot of this development these development issues and bring this out with more efficiently. Let's put it that way.
Sounds like more planning up front. So that's
right. Correct.
I guess we could all do we just converted to an ERP. Luckily, it wasn't me doing it, because I would have not been good, but my team was amazing. And there's just tons of planning that's required up front to do these types of things. And it sounds like, similar type of situation here. So,
right.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting takeaway there. Larry, what is your biggest failure? Maybe just a really tough one, something that you've learned from, or that helped you improve yourself or your business, maybe.
Right. So this goes back, I want to say 15 years ago. So universal remote controls were, just coming into the market. I shouldn't say just coming in, but they were gaining popularity. So we went out, or I could just say I went out and licensed the brand name Lazy Boy, because of the old joke, what are you going to do, sit in your recliner and your Lazy Boy with a remote? So I thought, well, this is something that, would work well at retail. So we started developing, we saw a gap in the market, first of all. We saw a gap in the there was a lot of cheap stuff out there, $19, $24, but in the $49 to $99 range, there was really nothing. So, and there was a dominant player at like 129 and above. So we thought, wow, this is a sweet spot, and we can develop a line of universal remote controls and license this name. And, of course, we were on the hook for the licensing fees because you have to, hit certain minimums. So we went full board, developed 4 items, from like 49 to 99. And at that point, by the time we were launching, the main competitor, who was in the $129, $39 range, decided to launch their own line in the $49 to $99 range, and kind of blew us out of the water because they had market share, they had shelf space. It didn't matter. The retailers were like, we don't care if it says Lazy Boy, And I'll tell you who it was. It's Logitech. So Logitech had the space locked up and in the distribution, and we really failed miserably with that line. So that was a good learning experience. And I tell people that don't be afraid to fail. You can always learn from your mistakes, right? And we took a chance, and we failed, and it was and we failed miserably with it. And so we had, and that was that. And to make matters worse, then we found out somebody had a patent on the backlit keypad of all things.
Oh, geez, really?
So typical, this is another reason typical patent troll. It comes out of Dallas, and we get the call. I get the call, and then I just I'll accept service. Just send me the suit. So they sent me the suit, and so I had to hire an attorney and defend it and all that stuff. But yeah, so for a backlit keypad, they had a patent. They wanted royalties, and luckily we didn't sell a lot of products, so there was
exactly.
It was a minimum settlement. But a lot of people, in fact, Motorola got hit pretty hard by that lawsuit. Like I said, that was like at least 10 years ago, maybe even 15.
That's a smart patent to have, I guess. That's
it's
useful everywhere.
Right.
Wow. Well, that's a great story, and like you said, though, it's, I guess if you've been in business a long time, so we're all going to have our product failures, but really interesting details about, you did everything right. You had the market share planned out. And like you said, sometimes the license is amazing. And sometimes licenses don't matter to buyers. In fact, a lot of times buyers don't care. It's like, do they matter to the customer? And then the buyer all of a sudden will care if there's demand. But that's a great story and a good way to wrap this up and just to show your breadth of knowledge and thanks for sharing all of that wisdom and experience with the audience. How can listeners learn more about you or connect with you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, of course, but through our website, you can learn a little bit more about the product. And I'm kind of a low profile guy, right? Even though I love to talk, but I consider myself just one of the team, right? And
yep.
I always tell people, look at a company like a puzzle, right? If you remove three pieces, you're going to notice something is wrong. Everybody fills. We all fit together perfectly in an organization, and we need everybody. We can't. The puzzle's incomplete without these three pieces. So, but at any rate, I'm available on LinkedIn. That's where I get. There's a lot of traffic there. I mean, you can always contact us or me, through our website and that. So,
well, listen, Larry, thanks for joining us on the Page One podcast. Guardian sounds like an amazing product, and thanks for sharing kind of your wisdom and details about product design and the company. And hopefully, there's a lot of value there for the audience. And just want to thank everybody for listening. And also a quick reminder that I'm offering that free evaluation of your online sales strategy. We can look at your digital strategy on Amazon, Home Depot, Wayfair. We can also look at your product reviews and check out different selling tools. And I'll present the findings directly to you for free. So contact me on LinkedIn or luke@retailband.com for more details. Again, I want to thank everybody for listening to the Page One podcast sponsored by Retail Band. I appreciate all of your comments, suggestions, and especially your reviews on iTunes. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Page One podcast with Luke Peters. If you like our show and want to know more, check out our other segments. Also, please help us out by leaving us a rating on iTunes. Want to learn more about our commerce? Check out www.retailband.com to get more great tips and tricks on how to accelerate your e-commerce sales with the big box retailers.